Admitting to a lie nearly 20 years later, a woman who accused Duke University lacrosse players of raping her is now saying she made up the story.
I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't, and that was wrong. And I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people who believed in me. And made up a story that wasn't true because I wanted validation from people and not from God.
All of this stems from now false accusations that Crystal Mangum made in 2006 when she told police that 3 members of Duke's lacrosse team raped her after she was hired to dance at a team party off campus. Well, 3 men were arrested and charged: David Evans, Colin Finnerty, and Reed Seligman. But following much controversy over the investigation and national attention, North Carolina's Attorney General dropped all of the charges. Here with us now is Ranjan Jindal. He is the sports editor at Duke's student newspaper. Wow. I mean, this is really a stunning admission, Ranjan. Nearly 2 decades later, this case is still, gaining both local and national attention. What has the reaction been like on campus to this?
Yeah, no, it definitely has been. This case is something that, like you mentioned, happened 20 years ago in 2006 is when it all came down. And for a lot of people here, especially our age on campus, we weren't, only 1 or 2. We weren't really alive for a good portion of it. And so I think that it has been kind of a wake-up call and a chance to retell a lot of the story that happened and the fallout from the case. In our story, we talked about what happened after the case. I think a lot of people, some people on campus, when they hear Duke lacrosse case, might think that the boys were charged or, might not necessarily understand Crystal Mangum's circumstances. But there were a lot of unintended consequences of the case. And, Duke lacrosse case still looms over campus. It affects social life, Duke-Durham relations, and a lot of things. And so our goal in the story was just to kind of, tell that story for a lot of people who weren't there and contextualize this apology and this admittal. In the greater scheme of things.
As you point out, maybe some of our viewers don't remember it, or were really young when this happened. I remember I was a student at UNC Chapel Hill at the time. It was such a big deal, these accusations. If you can, just set the stage for us, for our viewers, about the accusations and what followed and why this garnered national attention at the time and how the players were treated at the time.
Yeah, so the accusations, like you mentioned, Crystal Mangum accused these players of sexual assault and rape at a team party. And for a good portion of the time afterwards, a lot of people did think that the players were guilty of this. And they eventually had a game canceled, and the rest of the season was canceled. The head coach at the time, Mike Pressler, was actually asked to resign, and he had to move on from the Duke lacrosse team. He was the head coach at the time. But what a lot of people don't know is that the district attorney at the time, Mike Nifong, who was in charge of the case, was actually disbarred a year later for withholding DNA evidence that actually, was the thing that exonerated a lot of these players. And so at the time, the players, a lot of people thought they were guilty, but when the then Attorney General Roy Cooper, who is interestingly, the former governor of North Carolina, dropped charges and said they were innocent, the season was still canceled, and a couple of the players had to transfer out, the ones accused, and it really, still affected the relationship between the lacrosse team and Duke administration and Durham. So there are a lot of fallout effects to the case.
Yeah, quite the ripple effect. I've been in touch with one of the attorneys who represented one of those players at the time. They don't want to comment right now on this. Understandably, they've moved on with their lives, but it's still really a stunning admission, as I said, and it's important to talk about. Ranjan Jindal, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.